The arrival of the unseen strength. The sky was still dark as Captain Amelia Cross stared out over the alien horizon. Her hands gripped the cold metal rail of the ship, her eyes narrowing as she observed the unfamiliar landscape stretching out before her. The mission had been long and grueling, and now the team was finally on the ground. They had come to learn, to explore, and above all, to represent the human race, something they hadn't taken lightly. The planet they had landed on was known as Syracix, a lush and seemingly peaceful world. The locals, an advanced species known as the Orcs, were renowned for their technology and intelligence. Yet, despite their accomplishments, there was something about the Orcs that set them apart from other galactic races. They were cautious, perhaps too cautious. They viewed humanity with skepticism, unsure of how the humans would fit into the delicate balance of the galaxy. The Orcs had always considered themselves the superior species, and the idea of human involvement in their intergalactic affairs made them uneasy. "Captain Cross, the Orcs representatives are waiting for you in the council hall," came a voice from behind. It was Lieutenant Marcus Hale, a quiet yet competent officer who had been with her through many missions. Amelia turned, her eyes scanning the small team she had gathered for this diplomatic mission. There was Lieutenant Hale, the tech expert Mariah Weaver, and Dr. Eli Rainsford, a scientist whose research had already made waves in human history. Together, they represented the best of what humanity had to offer: strong, resilient, and above all, curious. "All right, team. This is it," Amelia said, her voice steady but filled with purpose. "We've got one chance to prove to them that humans belong here. Show them what we're made of." They moved as one, making their way toward the council hall. The Orcs had invited them to a summit to discuss potential cooperation between their people, but there was an unspoken tension in the air. The Orcs were not known for being open to new alliances, especially with a species as unpredictable as humans. As they entered the council hall, Amelia's eyes met the gaze of the Orcs leader, Eldrix. The tall, serpentine alien stood at the head of the room, his 6 eyes glinting with a cold, calculating intensity. His people had evolved to be extremely intelligent, with enhanced cognitive abilities that allowed them to process information faster than most species in the galaxy. They didn't need physical strength to dominate. Their minds were their weapons. "Captain Cross." Eldrix's voice was smooth, almost musical, but there was a trace of skepticism in it. "It is an honor to meet you, though I am curious as to why your species believes it is worthy of a place in the Galactic Council." Amelia's gaze never wavered. "We don't expect you to simply accept us, Eldrix. But what we bring is something different. We bring ingenuity, adaptability, and the will to survive when faced with impossible odds. Humanity has a history of rising from the ashes, of turning impossible situations into victories. And that's something you'll never see from us. We never give up." Eldrix's expression remained unreadable, but the tension in the room was palpable. He motioned for them to sit, and a silence fell over the room as the council meeting began. It wasn't long before the Orcs representatives began to question humanity's place in the galaxy. They asked about Earth's history, its wars, and how a species that had once been on the brink of self-destruction could possibly contribute to the peaceful order of the galaxy. Amelia could see the hesitation in their eyes. They were calculating, judging her every word, every movement. But she wasn't about to back down. "We've fought wars, yes," she said, her voice firm. "But each one made us stronger. We fought through plagues, famine, and civil unrest. We've survived. We adapt. We don't let the impossible stop us, and that's why we can be allies to you." Maria Weaver, ever the strategist, chimed in. "We have technology that can help you enhance your energy systems, improve the health of your people, and provide solutions to problems you might not even realize you have. We can teach you how to use what you already have, and we'll learn from you in the process. We'll grow together." The Orcs exchanged glances, murmuring among themselves in their native tongue. There was a visible unease in their posture. They were reluctant to trust the humans, but there was also a curiosity that they couldn't hide. Eldrix finally spoke again, his voice betraying a hint of intrigue. "You speak of survival and growth. But can you truly prove that humanity is capable of contributing to a greater cause, or are you simply here to satisfy your curiosity, as so many others have done before?" Amelia stood tall, her gaze unwavering. "Humanity doesn't just survive. We thrive. We create, we innovate, and we don't stop until we've made the impossible possible. I believe that's the reason we're here. Not to take, but to give, to share our strength, our knowledge, and our resilience with others." The Orcs didn't respond immediately. They seemed lost in thought, considering her words. For a moment, it felt like everything was hanging in the balance. The Orcs had always viewed themselves as the pinnacle of evolution, but Amelia knew that if they could see the strength of humanity in their hearts and minds, they might finally understand that there was more to a species than just physical power. Then, out of the silence, Eldrix spoke again, his voice filled with a quiet but unmistakable respect. "You speak of resilience, human. Show us then. Show us why Earth is called a death world, and why you are the ones who can turn the tide. Only then will we understand your worth." Amelia didn't hesitate. She knew exactly what he meant. "We'll show you. But first, let me tell you a story. One that might just change the way you see humanity forever." And so, with that, Captain Cross began to recount the story of Earth, a story of survival against all odds, of wars fought and won, of catastrophes overcome, and of a race that had never stopped reaching for the stars. She spoke of the human spirit, the unyielding will to survive, and the fire that burned within every human to fight for what they believed in. The Orcs listened intently, their expressions betraying a mix of skepticism and curiosity. But they were beginning to see something in Amelia's words, something that would set the stage for a greater understanding between their two species. As the story unfolded, one thing became clear. Humanity was not here to conquer or destroy, but to prove that they were worthy of a place in the galaxy. And no matter how hard the journey, no matter how impossible the odds, they would stop at nothing to prove it. The room was silent when she finished. Amelia's words hung in the air, and for the first time, the Orcs were beginning to understand that the human race was something far more complex and far more dangerous than they had ever realized. The path forward was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity was not just here to survive. They were here to thrive, and they would do whatever it took to prove that they belonged among the stars. The test of resilience. The sun of HFY 6 dipped below the horizon, casting long, purple shadows across the alien landscape. The air had an unfamiliar scent, thick with the essence of distant, ancient trees and strange flowers that only grew in the rarest corners of the galaxy. Captain Amelia Cross had spent the last few hours reflecting on the meeting, the words exchanged with Eldrix, and the lingering sense of tension in the council hall. She had told them about humanity's past, its hardships, its wars, and its victories. But now she needed to show them something far more powerful than words. Resilience. She had no doubt the Orcs had understood her story, but there was something about their species that demanded proof, tangible evidence of the qualities the humans claimed to possess. They weren't like the peaceful, philosophical races that believed in the power of words alone. The Orcs needed to see, feel, and experience humanity's strength firsthand before they would even consider an alliance. "Captain," said Lieutenant Marcus Hale, his voice low and steady as he approached Amelia. "I've been analyzing the terrain. There's a region not far from here, a place known to the Orcs as the Trial of the Unyielding. They've asked us to participate in it as part of their tradition for evaluating new species." Amelia turned to him, her mind already racing. "A trial? What kind of trial?" "Physical and mental endurance," Marcus replied, his eyes serious. "It's where they test the strength of newcomers, their ability to push through extreme environments and hardship. I'm guessing it's their way of deciding if we're truly worthy." Her mind shifted into full operational mode. If this was what the Orcs needed to see, then it was exactly what they would get. Amelia's team was not just a group of diplomats or scientists. They were humans who had faced the impossible and survived. They had weathered storms, endured battles, and come through challenges that no one thought they could overcome. And now, they were about to face an entirely new kind of trial. "Let's prepare then," Amelia said, determination flooding her voice. "We'll show them what humanity is capable of." The next day, the Orcs guided the team to a remote region of the planet, a desolate area where the terrain was harsh and unforgiving. Massive cliffs jutted into the sky, casting shadows over the barren plains. The wind howled across the landscape, carrying with it a fine dust that made breathing difficult. It was a place of extremes: extreme cold, extreme heat, and everything in between. "You'll begin at the base of the cliffs," Eldrix explained, his eyes glinting with a mix of curiosity and expectation. "From there, you must make your way to the summit. Along the way, you will face trials that will test your physical strength, your mental resolve, and your ability to adapt to the environment. The trial is meant to show us if you are capable of surviving in the most extreme conditions. If you can reach the summit, we will consider your species worthy of further cooperation." Amelia took a deep breath, looking around at her team. The Orcs were watching them closely, assessing every move, every expression. There was no room for hesitation. "This is what we've trained for," she said, her voice steady. "We'll do this together, and we'll prove that we're not just survivors. We're conquerors. Every obstacle they throw at us, we'll overcome it. It's what humans do best." The trial began with an unexpected challenge: a storm. Dark clouds gathered overhead, and a gust of wind whipped across the plain, knocking the team off balance. The temperature dropped sharply, making the air feel like ice as the wind carried with it a sleet that stung against their skin. The Orcs had warned them about this, but no amount of warning could have prepared them for the sheer intensity of it. "Keep moving," Amelia barked, her voice cutting through the wind. "Focus on the summit. We push forward, no matter what." The team moved together, struggling against the elements. The storm was relentless, testing their endurance, their ability to withstand the forces of nature. But the humans pressed on, determined not to be beaten by something so trivial as weather. Every step was a battle, every gust of wind a reminder of the hardships that had shaped their history. But Amelia knew this was only the beginning. The true test was yet to come. Hours passed, and the storm subsided. But as the clouds parted, the next challenge revealed itself. The cliffs loomed ahead, towering over them like giant sentinels. The rock faces were jagged, uneven, and slick from the previous storm. Scaling them would be no easy task, especially without the advanced technology the Orcs relied on. Maria Weaver, the team's tech specialist, looked up at the cliffs. "These are unlike anything I've ever seen. We'll have to rely on pure strength and strategy to climb." Amelia nodded. "We've climbed harder things. Remember, we've done this before. On Earth, we've scaled mountains, built skyscrapers, and conquered impossible terrains. This is just another obstacle." With their gear secured, the team began the climb. Each step was fraught with difficulty. The rock faces were sharp, and the climb was steep, testing their physical limits. But every time one of them faltered, they helped each other up. It wasn't just about strength. It was about teamwork, perseverance, and the unshakable belief that they could overcome any challenge as long as they worked together. As they neared the summit, the Orcs watched from a distance, their eyes fixed on the humans below. Amelia could feel their gaze on her, the weight of their judgment heavy in the air. But she didn't flinch. She knew that the Orcs were beginning to understand. This was more than a test of physical endurance. It was a test of their spirit. And as the last of the team reached the summit, gasping for breath but standing tall, Amelia turned to the Orcs. "We've made it. Now you know that humanity doesn't just survive. We thrive." For a long moment, there was silence. Then Eldrick stepped forward, his expression unreadable. He tilted his head, considering what he had seen. Finally, he spoke. "You have passed the trial. And with it, you have shown us something we did not expect. Humanity is indeed a force to be reckoned with." The Okar's skepticism had faded. In its place was a new understanding, one that acknowledged the true power of humanity. Not just strength, but resilience, the will to never back down, and the unwavering determination to overcome any obstacle. The trial had not only tested their bodies, it had tested their hearts. And in that moment, Amelia knew that humanity had earned its place among the stars. The dawn of new alliances. The night had fallen over the summit, and the wind had settled into a calm breeze. The Okar gathered around a glowing fire, its light casting strange shadows on their chiseled features. The humans sat opposite, weary but proud, their bodies sore from the ordeal they had just endured. But they were more than survivors of the trial. They were a testament to the strength of the human spirit, something the Okar had yet to fully comprehend. Captain Amelia Cross stood at the edge of the camp, her eyes scanning the stars above. The air was thin but clear, offering a view of the galaxy like she had never seen before. It was the same sky they had looked up at from Earth, but now, in a distant part of the universe, it felt as though they were no longer alone. The stars had always been a symbol of hope for humanity, a reminder that no matter how far they had fallen, there was always something greater to reach for. And now, they were reaching together. "Captain," a voice broke through her thoughts. It was Dr. Eli Rainsford, the quiet scientist who had spent most of the journey studying the Okar and their advanced biology. "The Okar have made their decision." Amelia turned to face him, her heart pounding in her chest. The trial had been a grueling test, and she knew that their success had won them the Okar's respect. But respect wasn't enough. If they were going to truly ally with the Okar, they needed more. They needed trust, understanding, and a shared vision for the future. "What did they say?" she asked, her voice steady but filled with anticipation. "They've agreed to enter into a provisional alliance," Eli replied, his face a mixture of relief and excitement. "But there's a catch." Amelia raised an eyebrow. "A catch?" "Of course, there's always a catch." "What is it?" Eli hesitated, his eyes shifting towards the Okar who sat around the fire, their alien eyes glowing in the dim light. "The Okar are willing to share their knowledge and technology with us, but they want to see if humanity is truly capable of taking on a greater role in the galaxy. They want us to help them with a mission. A dangerous one." "A mission?" Amelia's mind raced, trying to piece together what Eli was saying. The Okar had always been secretive, guarded about their technology and their plans. For them to offer any kind of cooperation was a monumental step. But if they wanted humanity to prove their worth, there had to be a greater purpose at play. "What kind of mission?" she asked, her voice firm. Eli took a deep breath before answering. "There's a rogue faction of their own people, a radical group who believes the Okar should abandon their neutrality and conquer other worlds. They've begun staging attacks against nearby planets, causing chaos in the region. The Okar want us to assist in neutralizing this threat. They believe that if we can work together to defeat this faction, it will cement humanity's place as a reliable ally." Amelia felt a surge of determination. This was exactly what humanity needed, an opportunity to prove their value, to show the Okar that they weren't just capable of surviving. They were capable of thriving in the face of adversity, a dangerous mission, a fight for survival in the unknown. It was exactly what humans had done time and again throughout their history. "All right then," she said, her voice steady. "We'll take the mission. We'll show them that humans can stand with the Okar, not just in times of peace, but in times of war as well." The Okar watched them closely, their glowing eyes fixed on Amelia as she spoke. She knew that this was the moment that would determine everything. Their willingness to accept the mission was more than just a show of strength. It was a statement that humanity would fight alongside the Orcs, not just for survival, but for a shared future. Captain Cross. Eldrix's voice interrupted her thoughts, his cold eyes piercing through the dim light. Your people have shown great resilience, but now we will see if you have the resolve to face what is truly ahead of you. Are you prepared to fight for the future of our alliance? Amelia stood tall, her gaze unwavering. We're prepared, she said, her voice filled with a conviction that echoed in the silence. And we'll prove it. The Orcs leader nodded, a subtle gesture that acknowledged her strength. Then we will begin preparations for the mission. But know this, Captain Cross, the road ahead will not be easy. The radical faction we face is not one to underestimate. They are as skilled as we are, and they will stop at nothing to achieve their goals. Amelia's team gathered around, listening intently. The challenge before them was unlike anything they had faced before, but there was no turning back now. They had come this far, and they would see it through. The mission wasn't just about proving humanity's worth to the Orcs. It was about proving it to themselves. As they prepared for the mission, Amelia couldn't help but reflect on everything that had brought them to this point. They had come to Xerxes as outsiders, as a species that was still finding its way in the galaxy. Now, they stood on the precipice of something far greater. This mission was the test, one that would prove to the Orcs and to the rest of the galaxy that humanity was not just capable of surviving. They were capable of shaping the future. The final briefing was held in the Orcs Command Center, a high-tech facility carved into the rock of the planet's mountains. The room was filled with tension, the air thick with anticipation. The Orcs looked to the humans, their faces unreadable. It was clear that they had doubts, but it was also clear that they were willing to give humanity a chance. Today, Eldrix said, his voice filled with authority, we fight not just for our own survival, but for the future of our people. And humanity will stand beside us, proving that together, we are stronger than we are apart. Amelia stepped forward, her eyes burning with resolve. Together, we will fight. And together, we will win. Into the inferno. The morning sun rose slowly over the alien world, casting a pale golden light across the rugged landscape. The air had a sharpness to it, an unfamiliar, metallic tang that reminded Captain Amelia Cross that they were far from Earth, on a planet where everything was foreign, yet oddly compelling. Today was the day. Today, humanity would stand shoulder to shoulder with the Orcs, and together, they would face an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. The mission was clear: neutralize the radical faction threatening the stability of the galaxy. Amelia stood at the front of the human team, looking at each of her comrades, the weight of the responsibility settling heavy on her shoulders. They had trained for this, prepared as much as they could, but now they were about to face a real battle. The Orcs warriors stood beside them, their tall, serpentine forms a reminder of just how much the stakes had risen. The Orcs were powerful, but the humans had something they didn't, an unyielding determination to win, no matter the odds. Lieutenant Marcus Hale adjusted his weapon, his face grim but resolute. Maria Weaver, ever the strategist, was already reviewing the mission protocols, ensuring their approach would be flawless. Dr. Eli Rainsford was quieter than usual, his mind no doubt focused on the enemy's technology. And Amelia, she was ready to lead. There was no turning back now. All right, everyone, she said, her voice steady. The Orcs have provided us with everything we need. Their technology, their tactics. Now, it's up to us to show them what humanity is capable of. We've faced battles before, on Earth, in ways unimaginable to most. We can face this one too. We fight together. We win together. The Orcs soldiers, a group of elite warriors, exchanged silent glances. They were formidable, their bodies honed through years of rigorous training, but there was no mistaking the respect they now held for the humans who had proven themselves in the trials. Their leader, Eldrix, stood at the head of the group, his 6 eyes narrowing as he observed the humans. "You speak with confidence, Captain," Eldrick said, his voice low but filled with a certain intensity. "But remember, this enemy is not one to underestimate. They are Okar, just as we are. And they will fight with everything they have. You will need all your strength, all your wit, to prevail." Amelia met Eldrick's gaze without hesitation. "We're not afraid of a challenge. We'll do what it takes." The convoy set off across the harsh landscape, their journey taking them through jagged mountain passes and barren deserts. The rogue Okar faction had established their stronghold deep in the heart of the planet's most inhospitable region, a place that no one had dared to approach in centuries. This would be no ordinary assault. It would be a test of everything humanity stood for: their adaptability, their creativity, and their ability to face the unknown. As they moved through the terrain, the air grew hotter, the heat radiating off the ground in waves. The humans were used to a variety of climates on Earth, but this environment was something else entirely. The Okar, on the other hand, seemed unfazed by the extreme conditions, their bodies naturally adapted to the harsh climate. Still, the humans pressed on, not allowing the difficulty of the terrain to slow them down. "Keep your focus," Amelia urged, as she noticed the fatigue setting in among her team. "We're almost there." After hours of grueling travel, they finally reached the outskirts of the enemy stronghold, a towering fortress built into the side of a mountain. The structure was an engineering marvel, its walls reinforced with advanced alloys that made it nearly impenetrable. The rogue Okar faction had spared no expense in creating their stronghold. They were a militant group, hell-bent on conquering, and their technology was just as dangerous as their ideology. Maria Weaver tapped her wrist communicator, her brow furrowing as she studied the data streaming across her display. "The security systems are active. We'll have to find a way through their defenses. We can't just charge in blindly." Eli adjusted his glasses, looking over at the fortress. "There has to be a weak point. We just need to find it." Amelia nodded, but she knew time was running out. They couldn't afford to waste any more moments. The rogue Okar faction had made their presence known, and every second they spent analyzing their defenses was another second the enemy could use to prepare for them. "We don't have time to search for weaknesses," Amelia said firmly. "We'll need to make our own opening. Marcus, can you get us inside?" Marcus gave a quick nod. "I've been studying their defense patterns. I've got an idea. If we can get close enough to their energy core, I can disable their security grid." "Let's do it," Amelia ordered. They moved quickly, taking cover behind rocks and debris as they approached the fortress. The air was thick with tension, each step feeling heavier than the last. They had come this far, but the hardest part was still ahead. As they neared the base of the stronghold, an unexpected sound reached their ears, a distant rumble, like thunder echoing across the plains. But it wasn't the weather. It was the sound of engines, massive engines, moving swiftly across the land. Amelia's heart skipped a beat. "Ambush," she muttered under her breath. They knew we were coming. Without warning, a barrage of energy blasts erupted from the fortress, sending shockwaves through the ground. The rogue Okar had anticipated their move, and they had fortified the perimeter. The humans were forced to take cover, the heat of the blasts scorching the air around them. "We're pinned down," Marcus shouted, his voice urgent as he ducked behind a large rock. "We need to get to the energy core, or we won't make it inside." Amelia's mind raced. This wasn't just a physical assault. It was a test of their will to fight, to persevere in the face of overwhelming odds. The Okar had made it clear. This was about proving humanity's strength. If they couldn't get through this, they wouldn't just fail the mission. They would fail the future they had fought so hard to secure. "Stay focused," she yelled, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We move together. We'll breach the core and disable the defenses. We don't stop until it's done." With a renewed sense of purpose, the humans pressed forward. Every step was a fight. every movement calculated. The energy blasts continued to rain down around them, but they refused to falter. They had fought through worse on Earth. This was just another battle they had to win. Marcus, ever the technician, found a way to bypass the initial wave of energy defenses. He motioned for the team to follow him, and they sprinted towards the energy core. The rogue Orc soldiers appeared from the shadows, their weapons raised, but the humans were ready. They fought with everything they had: bravery, ingenuity, and an unrelenting desire to protect what they had fought so hard for. As the last rogue Orc soldier fell, Amelia reached the energy core. Her breath was ragged, and her hands trembled from the exertion, but she had one thing on her mind: victory. With a final push, Marcus successfully disabled the core's security grid, opening the gates to the fortress. "We did it," he said, his voice a mix of exhaustion and triumph. But Amelia's gaze was fixed ahead. The fight was far from over. This was just the beginning. "Now," she said, her eyes burning with determination, "we take the stronghold, and we win."